School uniforms were made popular by private high schools back in the day to differentiate between private and public school students. Private school students took pride in wearing their uniform with their school emblem because it gave them a sense of belonging. As someone who wore uniforms throughout my high school years, I support wearing uniforms in school. Today, several public schools all over the world have enforced the school uniform policy, and some are happy about it and some are not. We understand that there are pros and cons to everything. However, there are more pros than cons to wearing school uniforms. School uniforms should be required in public schools because their use will lead to equality among students, reduce bullying, and lower costs to parents. Many children in America suffer from feeling less than based on differences in wealth, ethnicity, and race. Wearing a uniform creates equality among students because it can minimize feelings for inadequacy for students who are unable to wear more expensive clothes. Having the same uniform every day will make every student feel like the playing field is level. While all students are dressed alike, competition between students over clothing choices and teasing of those who are dressed in less expensive clothes can be eliminated. Having a school uniform can also help some students feel like they're socially accepted by their peers in ways that they wouldn't have been in regular clothes. Wearing a uniform isn't just about fellow students, it's also about teachers too, and how they respond to students who don't wear a uniform. According to an article found on www.parlia.com, evidence suggests that when students are wearing nicer clothes, teachers have higher expectations of those students. This can lead to teachers paying extra attention and spending more time with those students while neglecting those whose clothes may not appear as expensive. School uniforms create a level playing field among both students and teachers. School uniforms creating equality among students is a segue into how wearing uniforms minimizes or reduces bullying. We know and understand that kids get bullied for a lot of different reasons, but research has shown that bullying is severely reduced when kids wear school uniforms. According to an article written by Nathan Brunner on www.scholarship.com, 90% of teachers believe that school uniforms help reduce bullying in schools. The research goes on to say that at a high school in New Jersey who has implemented a school uniform policy, classroom discipline has increased to 85%. Community image has increased to 83%. Student safety is now at 79%, and student achievement is at 64%. By wearing school uniforms, it prevents bullies from making fun of other students and talking about them in a negative way. This also reduces the socioeconomic differences between students that become obvious when they wear regular clothes. Wearing uniforms also makes it more challenging for students to show any gang affiliation, which also leads to bullying. Another advantage to wearing school uniforms as it relates to bullying is that it forces kids to focus on their schoolwork rather than teasing each other because what one is wearing. Because everyone looks the same, there's little room to be mean to each other. Even though students will wear different shoes, hairstyles, and backpacks, those things getting made fun of aren't as hurtful as someone making fun of clothing. The focus is solely on school, which improves grades, participation, attendance, and all-around happiness among students and staff. According to procon.com, a nationwide implementation of school uniforms may help reduce school shootings because harassment and bullying have been linked to 75% of school shooting incidents, including the fatal shootings at Columbine High School near Littleton, Colorado, and Santana High School in Santee, California. Maybe if the schools had uniform policies implemented, the perpetrators would have stood out like sore thumbs. Bullying will continue to be an issue for years to come, but if wearing school uniforms can help mitigate it somehow, then that would be a big win. Parents work hard to provide their kids with what they need when it comes to school supplies and school clothing. In this era of social media, kids want the latest trends so that they can keep up or measure up with their friends and schoolmates. Wearing school uniforms takes the pressure off of parents because they don't have to spend so much money throughout the school year on clothes. They also don't have to spend time going back and forth with their kid on what's appropriate to wear to school and what isn't. An article on classroom.com explains that parents reduce their financial burden when kids have to wear one outfit every day. The same study also found that wearing a uniform reduces the cost for parents to $150 or less per child for a school year. Without school uniforms, parents may feel pressure to compete with other families and students by purchasing more fashionable and more expensive clothes for their children. In conclusion, there are more advantages to wearing school uniforms than disadvantages. A uniform means students don't have to worry about peer pressure when it comes to their clothes. When everyone is dressed the same, worrying about what you look like isn't so important. There is no competition about being dressed in the latest trend, which will put a great deal of financial pressure on students and parents. Potential bullies have one less target for their insults because it's harder to make fun of someone who is wearing the same thing as you are. Wearing uniforms can create an environment of cohesion and togetherness and let each student know that no one is better than any other. The first image shows two students, one in uniform and one in regular clothes. The one on the left can be perceived as someone with wealth because he's wearing nice jeans and a nice chain. The kid on the right could also come from wealth, but because of the school uniform, he looks like a regular student. No one has to know his socioeconomic status, which is why wearing uniforms can be so important. This image shows a group of students all dressed in the same uniform, looking happy and cohesive. The uniform takes pressure off of each student in this picture to try to fit in. I say yes to school uniforms.